I'm waiting for YouTube to behave itself. As we start talking about suicide and having hope, one of the very, very, very first things I want to begin with is discrimination. No discrimination necessary. We can't discriminate against persons who have mental health disorders. We can't discriminate against persons who are having challenges living. There are people who are having a hard time just coming to grips with the stressors of life. So we're going to share some statistics first so that we can know that suicide is real. People are not seeking attention. That's number one. They're not doing it to get a hype. They're not doing it for the clout. What Cardi and the young man said, do anything for a clout. It's not always about that. There are people who actually need real intervention. So why we shouldn't discriminate against suicide is because suicide itself does not discriminate. Hey, what a thing! Suicide does not discriminate. Anyone can fall prey to suicidal thoughts. What do you mean? Anyone can have persons, family members, friends who fall victim to suicide, and as a result, you are affected knowing that you lost a loved one this way. We are live on YouTube right now, also live on Instagram at Stacy and Virtue, also at Stacy and Virtue on YouTube. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Now, close to 800,000 persons die from suicide yearly. 800,000, and that's down from 1 million persons annually. And you say 1 million, yo, a whole heap of people that 800,000 is also a whole lot, even though we're grateful for the decrease. I would like you to know that that is still one person every 40 seconds. It means that within every minute, there is someone who has fallen victim to suicide. One person every 40 seconds. And suicide it's more common than we know. No one really talks about it a lot, but in low and middle income countries, they take up 79% of that 800,000. So of the 800,000 persons who die annually, 79% of those persons are from low or middle income countries, which means that finances, money, the standard of living is a real factor in real risk factor for persons. So this is a global issue that we all experience on an individual level. Now, suicide is also the 15th leading cause of death worldwide. 15th leading cause of death. But for persons aged 15 to 29, it is the second leading cause of death. So 15th generally in life, but second leading cause of death for persons 15 to 29 years old. The number one leading cause of death for that age group is road injury. It's not cancer or AIDS or this or that, it's road injury, road fatality. So after accident on the road, it's suicide for persons aged 15 to 29 years old. Now, with such a big problem that affects persons financial, as a result of financial issues, as a result of social factors, as a result of the home situation, your school situation, bullying, as a result of psychiatric problems or disorders, what are we going to do? It means that we all have to take responsibility. It therefore means that this problem is everybody's problem. It's not just my problem. It's not just the government's problem. It's not a film picnic, a film problem. No, it's everyone's problem. And it means that persons can help at different levels of life too. So if you are, as you are an individual, but if you are in your church space, you can talk to your church brother or your church sister. You can talk to your coworker. But if you are like a manager in a company or a CEO, it means you can implement programs at the group level to help people to choose life, don't it? And then so it goes bigger. If you're a teacher, you can implement it at the classroom level. I have a friend who is a teacher, and one of the things that she would say to her form class every morning and that she would have them repeat is the mantra, I can and I will, end of story. I can and I will, end of story. every morning her form class would be doing this affirmation. Something as simple as that will help people to choose life. But I digress. So we must do all we can to prevent suicide. One of the risk factors that I mentioned was mental illness. So depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, stress, or untreated mental illness. All these are sometimes, let me say, they account for up to 90% of persons who commit suicide, or persons who suicided, I should say. So up to 90% of persons who have fallen victim to suicide have an underlying mental illness. Let me repeat, up to 90% of persons who suicided have a mental illness, either psychiatric condition, depression, stress, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, split personality, all these things. I don't have the actual term. I should also say as a disclaimer that I am not a medical health professional. This is my field of study. I am not yet certified. Getting there in Jesus' name, but I am not a certified professional as yet. So if you do need more accurate information, or if you're not too sure, I'm not telling you to log off, but you can check out the World Mental Health Organization's website, or you can go to a couple of resource areas that I will point you in as we go through this video. I have those cards as well. So risk factors include mental illness, includes untreated as a separate category, untreated mental illness, because if you are diagnosed people, we can get treatment. If you need to take a pill, you'll take a pill, and it can help you to just live a better life, right? Also, substance abuse. Substance abuse is a risk factor for suicide as well, because if you become dependent on a drug, you know that changes the chemical functions of your brain, and then you may crash and resort to self-harm. So if you use substance to medicate, then your problems do not go away after the substance is out of your system. And by substance abuse, I mean alcohol, drugs, marijuana included. Marijuana is a drug. I know it's a herb, and we love the herb, and it has many uses, but it is also a drug, and you should consume it only according to prescribed doses. Just like cocaine is a very, very good drug, but it is only useful when consumed according to a prescribed dose, okay? So chronic or terminal illness can also be a risk factor. The idea that you're gonna die, the idea that you've been sick for a long time can cause someone to lose hope. The idea that as some stay from a long time, I just not get better, there is no hope for me, what am I gonna do? I can no longer provide for my family, I can no longer move around, I am not mobile. This can affect the ego a lot, as not just for men, as we often liken ego to men, but also for women. It can make you feel less than, as if you are not as worthwhile as an individual anymore, if you are not able to be as mobile as you used to be. Also, personal trauma, or even someone else's trauma, a loved one's trauma, can cause you to fall victim to suicide, or to develop suicidal thoughts. Childhood trauma or childhood abuse is known to trigger a mental health disorder. And we know that up to 90% of persons who fall victim to suicide had a mental health disorder. So if childhood trauma or trauma in general or abuse on a whole triggers a mental health disorder, then it means that if abuse continues, the more persons are abused, it just do the logics, and these persons are more susceptible to actually falling victim to suicide, right? So we see that we have to address this issue on many, 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 many levels. After abuse, persons often develop anxiety. You develop extremely high fear association. Your triggers become different. The fear cortex in your brain swells, and you're more easily triggered by somebody brush against you. You may start seeing your abuser's face in the faces of other people. and you start feeling claustrophobic, trapped, shut out as if there is no place for you to go. And these are thoughts that cause persons to seek a way out. They want another life. You don't want to live this life filled with pain and abuse anymore. Also, exposure to someone else's suicide can also be a risk factor, because what this says to me when I see someone else die in this way is that, oh, taking my own life is another option. This is another option. Taking my own life is another option. Okay. So it becomes a thing in the back of your mind that you can do if things get too rough, just by being exposed to someone else's suicide. Also, if there's a family history of suicide, I'm not saying that when these things exist, it is a must that an individual will develop suicidal thoughts. No, it's not a must. It's definitely not a must. But these are risk factors, which means they are seen to be present in the lives of many persons who actually fall victim to suicide. Okay? So another big one that I have in big block capitals, bold letters at the bottom of that card was stress. Lord, just say to yourself, stress. Stress. Stress is a big risk factor. People who are stressed out often fall victim to suicide. Just dealing with the pressures of life can trigger anxiety again, depression again, hopelessness again, and a desire to see the way out. So what do we look for? What do we look for? What do we look for persons who are feeling this way? What do we look for? How do we know? How do we prevent it? What do we do? We look for a couple of things. If the individual is talking about dying or wanting to die, that's a sign. It's a sign that this person may be suicidal. Now, people always say that there are no signs. Him they just happy, him they just this, and then next thing we know, him dead. Why would I kill himself? This person have money, that person have no money. Why they wouldn't kill themselves? There are signs. So if you know what to look for, you'll be able to find it. So if you find someone, their language changes, this is not usually a part of their language, and they're just talking about dying or wanting to die, that's a sign that should warn you. If the person is talking about feeling empty or hopeless or trapped, don't take it for granted. It's a sign. If the person is saying things like, "Me not see no way out," that's another sign. If this person is usually very sociable, love go out, and then no, they're now going through withdrawal, like they want to be isolated away from people, they want to take for themselves, that's a whole sign as well. If someone starts to give away their personal items for no reason, it's not like them are going foreign, so they're giving away. No. Not just that, they're just giving away personal items. That's a sign. If you see behavioral change, and they start saying goodbye to family and friends, that's a sign. Where are you going? Why are you saying goodbye? You live here. That's a sign. If you see a behavior change, so this person is usually warm and friendly and kind, but now they become mean and aggressive and just full of anger, that's a behavior change. It may be a sign that something is wrong. Now, I'm saying this because a behavior change isn't always depression and hopeless. It can just be to anger, or it can be someone that is usually depressed who now becomes extremely calm and peaceful and very matter of fact and careless or reckless behavior. Just a swift behavior change. It warrants a question, at least a question. You can't just take it lightly that, all right, cool. This, I just saw him stay. No, this person wasn't like this before. This is a mood swing that they didn't usually have. This is a behavior change. It's a sign. Another thing, if a person starts to buy things like gun and they're paying a lot more attention to lethal weapons like knives and poisons, and you see them investigating these things and asking questions about these things, not just for knowledge gathering, but something more. Like you ask them, like, would want to know, if you're going to die, how would you do it with this method? That's a sign someone is talking about killing themselves. About killing themselves. Also, another thing to look for is lots of interest in things that this person used to love. loss of interest in what they used to love. So if this person used to love go ball games or love the PS4 or 5 or whichever number we are at today, or love go to the movies, fam, or like me, you like go eat food and things, and you just stop. And this is not a budgetary thing. This is not no goal. You're not fasting or so. It's a sign. If the person is in physical pain that is undiagnosed, it's a sign that it's a psychotic trauma. If you're in pain and the pain is undiagnosed, but your body, you're feeling it physically, so you can feel physical pain, but there isn't anything actually wrong with you as a person physically, that's another sign. Cool. Now, this Dr. Judith Leiber mentioned that, or she calls the emotional and mental state of the suicidal soul ache. Soul ache. Your soul is hurting. An overwhelming, intangible hurt that stifles and chokes at the heart of a person. A soul ache. That's what persons are experiencing. It's not something you can see or touch. It's a hurting of the soul, a hurting of your heart. But you can help, and that's why we're here today, because you can help. So now is a good time for those who are on Instagram or YouTube, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, you can just say to yourself, my name is Stasian. Stasian can help. Whatever your name is, you can put that in the chat if you're able. So your name is Mary. Mary can help. If you believe it is real and true. You can help. It doesn't matter what your circle looks like. It doesn't matter if you've never met a suicidal person before. It doesn't matter if you don't think you know anyone who has experienced this. And also, it doesn't matter if you have also been through this and has overcome. You certainly can help. So I can help. Everyone can help. We all can take responsibility and help. But how do we help? What's the first thing that we do? Number one, we can be a listening ear. If you are not listening and paying attention, you won't see any of the signs that I mentioned before. You have to have been listening and or paying attention to pick that up. And then when you pick it up, you ask a question. Dr. Leiber, she calls it QPR, and other persons in her profession call it QPR as well. There is CPR for the heart, for when someone is having a heart attack, that a lot of people know about. QPR is what's necessary in the psychosocial space. It's question, persuade, and refer. Question, persuade, and refer. So the question is, have you ever thought of killing yourself before? That's the question. The question is, it can begin with, are you okay? And then listen. And then don't compare your life and respond. Just respond to what the person said. Why are you? How are you? Is that what you're feeling? Why are you feeling that way? Okay. Do you also feel like killing yourself? Have you ever felt like taking your own life? What makes you feel this way? Those are the questions that you have to ask. And I know it can be a little uncomfortable, not true? Because not everybody you know too tough and you don't really want to get too close and you don't want nobody throw down them burden upon you and what. But if not you, then who? Right? So ask the question. Just ask the question. Have you ever felt this way before? And after you ask the question, if the individual says, no, what are you there on? I just, XYZ, this is just a season that I'm in right now and I'm really good, then great. However, if the person says yes, there's another important question that you have to follow up with. And this one is the one that's even a little harder. It's, have you decided how you're going to do it? Pause. First, let me say, talking about suicide in this way will not make a person suicidal. So if the person is not suicidal, don't worry that asking them about it will make them suicidal. It really won't, all right? But asking them is important to gauge the level or to do like a temperature check. So if they say yes, and then you follow up with, how do you plan to do this? When you listen to their response, you can know if they're really serious, or if you can know the level at which they're thinking, if they've gone through the different suicidal processes in their head. Because if the person said no, they're just thinking about it, then chances are they're just having suicide ideation, meaning the thoughts have just come. But if it is that they're in the planning stage, they need counseling immediately. If they already have the weapon, if they have the knife, the poison, the pills, whatever it is, if they have that on hand, then you know that they need immediate intervention from a trained professional. These questions are extremely important. Don't be afraid of asking. Now, if the person says, yes, they are feeling suicidal, you must refer them to a professional immediately. Encourage them to live, that's the P, persuade. Encourage to live and listen it out, but you must refer to a professional. Heart surgeons do heart surgery. Brain surgeons don't do brain surgery. Also, brain surgeons do not do psychotherapy or counseling. Everybody have them lane. There is a point you can go to and no more. For example, if someone is having a cold, you can give them an Advil or Cetamol cold and flu or Panadol multi-symptom. But if it develops into pneumonia, they need to go to the hospital, right? So you are not a therapist. You don't have all the tools to give this person. You must refer them to a professional. Talking it out helps, Talking it out helps. Because with talk therapy, persons can release pent-up information. So we have to be a listening ear, but we have to be careful not to give any kind of advice that we are not sure about. We have to after you listen, always refer to a professional. I will give you the numbers and I will post it in the description, I think, when I save this video, and post it back on Instagram or YouTube, right? Talk to a licensed professional. Refer the person to a licensed professional. Give them the number to the Ministry of Health hotline. Give them these numbers, man. For Ministry of Health in Jamaica, it's actually 888 New Life. 888 New Life. That's a hotline and it's free. 888 New Life. That's it. You don't have to search hard or far to find that. 888 New Life. And that's what we can do. We can learn to question, persuade, and refer a person. I think just like how everyone should know basic first aid. If someone has a cut, you know that you clean it, you put a little antiseptic, antibiotic, and then you bandage it and you're good to go. Basic first aid, rest, ice, compress, elevate. I think that's how we should know basic QPR. We should be able to help persons who need help. All right. Now, if you are actually listening and this is something you have struggled with, this is something that has crossed your mind in some way, shape, or form, you are not alone. Suicide ideation, the thoughts of it, even the planning stages, even going all the way to a suicidal attempt, it happens to more persons than you know. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not abnormal. You are not an anomaly. You are a child of God, just like anybody else. You are not alone. I can give you the numbers to prove to you that you are not alone. For every adult that actually suicided, there were 220 persons, more than 220 persons thinking about it in that same moment. For every single person, there were 220 more contemplating it at that time. So you are not alone. There are other persons that are struggling with this in the world. But the good news is that suicidal thoughts are not a death sentence. There is hope. I stress there are more persons struggling now we know about, but there is hope. It's not a death sentence. There are individuals who, after talk therapy, they've never had any more suicidal thoughts ever. And then there are other persons who you have to continually check up on them as they go through life, because this is something that has followed them through different seasons of life, depending on where the actual thoughts were stemming from. You understand? So there is hope. One, you're not alone, but two, there is hope. You can talk to a counselor, and a counselor, A counselor will give you the tools to choose life every day. If you don't know what to do with the emotions that you have, it's okay. It's okay to not know. It's okay to not be okay with how you're feeling. But a counselor can tell you what to do with the emotions that you have and help you to go through life in a very, very healthy and happy way. In John 10, the good Lord said that he came so that we can have life and that we can have it more abundantly. God says that. And so I believe today with all my heart that that promise is not just for me, it's not just for the pastor, it's not just for the preacher. And let's not be, everyone has struggles. People, it doesn't matter their position, their title. It's not just for Barack Obama. It's not only Barack God wants to have life and have it more abundantly. It's everyone. It's me and you and your neighbor and your friend. No one is immune from this, but everyone who experiences this still has purpose in life. For everyone who experiences this, they're still a good thing to God. When God made you, you were still a good thing. You were still his idea of what this world needed. When he made you, there was still there was a purpose then, and there is a purpose now. So there isn't anything that you are experiencing right now, whether it be any of the mental health disorders that I listed, or the trauma, or the stress, or any of the things even just associated with COVID. Good Lord, that has done a number on the mental health of many persons in so many different sectors of society, causing financial challenges all over the place. But it doesn't matter what exactly it is that you are experiencing, there is hope for you today. Don't be afraid to talk to a professional, and do not stop believing that your life is worth living. There is still life worth living for you. Some things still left for you to do. There is still someone that is waiting. You see, in your hands, I believe in all my heart that there are things meant to come from my hands that can only come from my hands. No one else can do the things that I was created to do. And the same is true for you. No one can do the things that you were created to do. You are still here. There are still people to be blessed by your life. It is you that's the personification of God's will and glory for this earth and for someone else's blessing. So there is a hope for you yet. Not only do you have more abundant life to receive in the land of the living, but I also challenge you that you have more to give to this world. This world still needs you. You are here on purpose, and nothing can cancel that purpose. So live as long as you possibly, live long to a ripe old age, 10 and then some. There is more for you to do. It is not yet time for anybody to die. If you know anyone struggling with suicidal thoughts, please, I'm asking you, get in touch with Family Life Ministry. Their phone number is 926-8101, and they have many more numbers, but also a very good website, 926-8101 for Family Life Ministries. Choose Life International, great organization, 876-920-7924. And there's also the Counseling Center at CGST that has a number that goes 876-755-3715. Are you that? You, life is still meant for living. Life is just for living. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Please share this information with your friends. Please share the link, whether YouTube or Instagram. Share the live. I'll save it, but share the link and encourage persons. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions, I'm willing to take it. I can take it right now if you have any questions. Hi, Cherise. So I have the Instagram right here, 2 different cameras. Hi. If you have any questions, I'm ready for it. If you don't have any questions, that's all good. Not a problem. You made it. Hey, Latania. Hi, Lati. Hi. We're taking questions now. we spoke about some prevention for people that we think may be having suicidal thoughts, signs to look out for, and all these things. And now we're taking questions. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Big up on a nice, clean self. Full joy the rest of your evening. I love you for watching and I love you for sharing. Thank you so much. Bye.